Alright guys, we're back here again, this time in the semifinals. Some RNG sure happened, and let's walk you through what exactly happened throughout the match, what my thought processes were, and hopefully you can get a better understanding of what exactly happened here. But mostly, if you want to just stop here, it's because I played pretty much blind, like a blind person. So, Juggler versus Landius. Standard stuff. Here, adding this Omega, researching my opponent's team and checking on my opponent's skill on most of his units, and they were pretty low here. So instead of going for a safe play like second pick and D-Lit, I go for a more aggressive playstyle here, going with a second pick Zerda. Could have just second picked Omega now that I think about it, but I have this preference for Zerda. So here I get my only healer here now in Weiler, having both. Well, I didn't actually field Rachel here, but D-Lit got banned earlier, so I don't have any more Gospels here. And I give them Disposal and Licorice, knowing they have very low skill against this Omega. So as long as I keep them in check here, could be good. But also on this map, it's not really favored for assassins if they just put a unit inside this middle area. That can really limit the mobility of assassins here. So I'm not too excited playing Omega on this map, but that's kind of forced into it after building my team. Look at this Bozo, 86 skill, 117. So they have very low skill against this Omega, which is using the new accessory and having a skill of 533 or 32. So this is about as far as the Bozo can reach, because then my Omega is threatening to kill at this distance. Move 3, can move again using the Cold Blood, move 2 squares, and threaten all this range. So I'm looking at this Bozo, how can this Bozo push up against me with Bracer? Push up with this, use K, transform immediately instead of using faction buff. Licorice transforms first turn, and with 2 Tenyo procs gets the Tenyo plus 3 mobility applied to Disposal. So now I'm looking at my team here, and I'm everything here is just all ranged now with this plus 3 mobility. I push up this Landius over here, just kind of away from this Claret in case this Landius becomes the target of an AoE. So here's a pretty good play here, teleporting the Juggler forward. So now Juggler is starting to lock down some of the units here. And because I put Weiler so far forward, it was a pretty good punish. So now my options are quite limited. I can put this Omega somewhere here. Like if I put it here, the Juggler can still jump here. If I put it here, the Juggler can still jump here. If I do that, then this Weiler next turn is going to be put into order, which means he can only move 1 block. And over here, this is the most I can move with this Weiler. Use Tactical Retreat. If I do that, this Bozo can still come over here and AoE my entire team. I would not have a healer action available because I would have to use the Tactical Retreat first turn, next turn. So that didn't look really good. So, after all things considered, I move this Omega down here. Another move that I could have made is to retreat with this Weiler, like move it all the way back here. That could have probably worked if I didn't have this Landius all the way this far forward. If I had it around my team, then maybe it would have been better. I can just move the Weiler back here, then everyone gets hit. I can move the Mega somewhere after that, and eat a Beast Shock. But at least then I would only just maybe lose 1 life off of Landius. But here they lock down this Weiler here. With this jump. So here looking at this Weiler, didn't really have a good play here. If I use the 3C here, then the Weiler would just simply die to an AoE from Bozo next turn. If I don't use the 3C here, I don't really accomplish that much anyways. I can use the Tactical Retreat on these 2 units now, or on this Landius. But didn't think that would accomplish much. If the Weiler goes down to an AoE from Bozo here anyways, then things could be really bad. So instead of healing up someone else, I go for the heal on Weiler himself. That way, in case everyone gets debuffed like this, at least I can have a Weiler that's still alive. And then use his 3C to dispel everyone. So here I go for this route first, just to disable this juggler from beast shocking anyone. But unluckily, my opponent gets this passive disable. So rather than staying alive after the attack, Landius just goes down to this route, and Thorns. So maybe it's Thorns, maybe it's just attack, but Juggler doesn't attack for all that much damage, since he only attacks about 6 times compared to 20 times when using Beast Shock. So Landius just goes down, attacking into the Juggler. If Landius was still alive, with this revive, then he would have been okay. And then kick the Juggler over here. And then it would have blocked this Yusuke from reaching my team here. This Yusuke also kind of got lucky with this +2 mobility, because if I kill Disposal right here with this Omega here, then Yusuke would be enraged, and move here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 be able to punch my Claret from this range. So all of that RNG made it not possible for me to kill Disposal early on. So he moved this Licorice over here, drops the ground, which is just outside of my Omega's range. So now my Omega can still only kill Disposal here. And now finally being safe, I go for this sort of risky 3C, but not like I had much of a choice here, since there's also a random burn on Weiler, which actually gets dispelled thanks to, I think, Forest Priest or something. So here, because I was unable to kill this Bozo here, Zerda could not go into hide and seek, since Bozo with +3 mobility is covering the entire map here. But not much I can do. If I kill this Bozo early on, then I lose the Claret here, and then no one can really kill this Yusuke anymore. So now finally they move into the range. I can attack with this Claret, get rid of this Yusuke here, and then stand on this defensive tile. Now I can use the Omega to finish off the Bozo. Again, attacking out of range. And then positioning myself in such a way that it threatens to kill off this Licorice next turn. So here Licorice goes for this 3C, which finishes off the Weiler over there. So Zerda, they're kind of just dead to the juggler. But here, the Licorice 3C also applies a very crucial heal block on Claret, and also to Omega. So now both of them with Wiler talent does not get healed up when attacking, or with this meteor attack buff. So if this Claret was able to get healed back up with the Griffin Knights, then maybe it would have finished off the Iris here. And Omega would have healed up more when attacking the Licorice. But instead, none of that happens. Guard attacks, unable to get healed. Florida goes down to a Beast Shock. Omega attacks here, finishes off the Licorice, takes a bunch of retaliation damage from those Crystal Warlocks. And again, cannot get healed. So here, only healing I have is from Claret's Ribbon. But now, not having an attack buff, they were unable to finish us off this Juggler or get through this Iris Bolt Rangers, since Iris just had enough skill to be above Omega's triple range. So after a few rounds, I lose this match. And when this game won, it all started from that Tail Breeds onto the Bozo. Then it was just a bunch of more bad RNG. So here in this game too, I take out Luna and PA for Alestrio and Rachel. Rachel's pretty good against AoEs and debuffs, and then this Alestrio is on her best map, so she gets first banned. So here, I play out this Mystery Knight with Landius. Pretty good against Struggler. But not having Luna means I don't really have great support for this Mystery Knight. And then the Iris, along with this Imelda, gets banned out. So here, instead of going for a healer pick, I just go for Rachel. And then for fourth pick, I had the choice of going like with a Liana or Delit. Instead, I go for this Guard instead. The safer pick for all my matches would have been second pick Delit. I always love having Delit against Struggler. Use of Crossbow is really good. Instead, I get punished here and then lose out on Delit and also on the Liana. So I make these two bans, the Claret and the Bozo, giving my opponent the last pick Arene. My reasoning for this is I don't want to give my opponent that much mobility. I want to be spreading apart against his AoEs. If I do that anyways, then they won't be able to AoE as many units of my own. So I get rid of this Claret, which is threatening for me. Threatening that I can't spread as well. So instead I get this Yusuke for last pick. And we have a mostly legend team here. So to deal with my magic damage dealers, my opponent brought the Magic Guard on the Juggler and brought a Mass Resist instead of Shield. It's pretty good if you engage first and then only take magic damage, rather than punches from Yusuke. So at the beginning here, looking at the struggler not having a shield buff, defense buff, thought I can probably kill this 2 attacks with the claret, but he's safely stepping out of range here. So here I'm trying to get +3 mobility buffs on my units, but I don't get any of that. Here I get lucky with a +3 mobility onto my Landius, which is not helpful at all. And after pushing up Claret, threatening to attack the juggler, my opponent uses the teleport onto his juggler, while also getting a +3 mobility onto this Reen here. So I go for this AoE here, kind of threatening to attack into this now Last Right's broken juggler next turn, just to force him to use this transform, or for him to use 3C, so he uses the transform, and for another mass heal, which does full heal this juggler. So here with teleport, not sure I really want to engage. But instead of doing that, just playing safe, walking away, spreading apart out of Reen's AoE range. Reen with that plus mobility is threatening to AoE like everyone here. Alright, so at this point, my Mystery Knight did get a breeze. If I actually looked at what was actually happening on the map, I could actually taken this trade where I can walk all the way here, attack this Reen at range, since Juggler is not using Magic Guard. So if I did that, then the game would have gone a lot better. Instead, I end the turn here with Landius. And then this Lucris moves forward, kind of just to drop the ground and to get the trade. And then I attack here with the Claret. Since I don't want my opponent to have the Struggler jump into this spot. He does that, then it would hit my Mystery Knight as well as the rest of my team here. This jump is also pretty good, since it does hit my Mystery Knight here, down to pretty low. Move out, drop out the Thunder Zone, threaten the Juggler here, so they go in for the heal. Now the opponents still have this Reen and also this Yusuke here. So this Claret is most certainly dead to the Yusuke here, and also this Reen can AoE again after I move the Rachel. And I don't really want to move the Rachel until they move the Reen, at least not now, since I have a Gospel that's just running out. So again, my opponent chose a really good time to engage, where I have to decide between refreshing Gospel on the Rachel or using her attack just to heal the team. Since my opponent does not have a shield, I go for this 3C onto the Juggler. Disable the heal. Fire goes down. Now I'm kind of forced to make this Rachel attack while she still can. And Scythe takes out the Juggler here, while also healing up some of my team. And the Scythe clocks. So here is one of the big Reen AoEs that I can't really avoid. Hits onto everyone. And also clocks. So here Landius cannot be buffed here. The Yusuke gets silenced, but he doesn't have a skill available anyways. Rachel heal. Rachel here cannot use her full health bonuses, so she can't kill the Reen here. So my best choice here was use the Mystery Knight. And here I wasn't paying attention to Mystery Knight's mobility. I didn't see that she breezed, so she had 7 mobility instead of 5 regularly. And I make this max range attack onto the Reen, which brings her down to 62 health. If I just attacked over here on this forest tile, I could have triggered the group charge tech on the unicorns, which makes them have 20% increased attack. So because of that, Reen lives at 62 health and gets off this key second AoE. So here the Landius gets the boots, or gets the legs broken. The Rachel gets silenced, and there's no way to really save the Rachel. There's poison grounds everywhere, and then there's these fixed damages. So here I attack into Reen with Landius, although I should have attacked with the Rachel here, since Rachel already can't really do anything here anyways. My plan there was to use Dark Reaper at 3 range, just to attack into either Iris or Yusuke, but since she silenced here, I should have attacked with Rachel here instead, try to get rid of these debuffs. And instead, Rachel goes down to this Yusuke punch. So I make this attack onto their Yusuke, do pretty good damage, but they do have a healer here. And I lose my transform here on the Yusuke as well. So since Landius can be buffed here, I have to make this attack, which doesn't do much. They can simply heal back up again. So here this Iris, using Goddess left hand, disables the passive guard of Landius using this reduced mobility. Since the Landius was on Bracer and couldn't ignore this reduced mobility here. So I attack with Yusuke, which gets rid of the Iris here, but this Yusuke can now attack into my Yusuke here. So now in this 1v1, I attack into the Yusuke and do pretty much no damage, despite having all this attack. And here, Landius is just locked out of this fog. It takes 3 mobility to just walk into these mountain tiles and can't really move anywhere anymore, so I lose this game as well in this fog. So from game 2, I definitely made some key mistakes, like not attacking the Reen when I had the chance several turns ago, but also from some other mistakes, like not being able to finish off this Reen completely. If I finish off the Reen, I could have had the game. And then some unlucky RNG with those debuffs, like getting the reduced mobility here on the Landius, getting the silence on this Rachel here meant I couldn't really come back after that second AoE. Alright, that's all for now.